All right, welcome to the Maintenance Community podcast for people who want to learn all things about maintenance and reliability. I'm your host, Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of Upkeep. And each week I'll be meeting with an expert within our maintenance community to take a deep dive into topics that hopefully help elevate and educate the entire industry. Our topics are sourced from the Maintenance Community Slack group, which is the largest online community of maintenance professionals in the world. And today I'm super excited to have Cathy Ma here on the show. Cathy is the Director of User Acquisition at Thomas. It's an industrial sourcing platform that services professionals to help create solutions that inform, support, and empower the entire manufacturing industry. So welcome to the podcast, Cathy. I'm super excited to learn from you today.
Thank you for having me, Ryan.
All right, the way that we always kick off this show, Cathy, is have you share a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you were first introduced to this wonderful field of maintenance and reliability.
Of course. So I have a kind of weird route to maintenance and reliability in a way. I actually grew up in Hong Kong and spent, my first career decade in London before moving to New York because of my husband, who is a New Yorker. Now, the most interesting part about my career is I started my career as a sociologist on Wikipedia, really kind of around 2005 to 7, investigating how trust can enable knowledge production and knowledge sharing across international communities. So being part of the Upkeep community, I'm part of your Slack group, it really reminds me of how everyone rallied together to do something great. In terms of what I do specific to maintenance and reliability, I'm now working for Thomas. We've been around for 123 years and more. We've been connecting industrial North American suppliers with buyers. On our platform, there are over 500,000 suppliers. I always say from alloy to sink, whatever you're looking for, we have it in our platform. So in the last 3 years, my role is to really expand and grow our platform's reach with people like, the MR professional communities, who procurement professionals, as well as doing some advocacy work about really kind of figuring out the role of manufacturing in North America. And it's been a great ride. So all in all, audience development, academia, and then using that kind of data-driven storytelling skills, I'm here to actually bring insights and intelligence to the maintenance and reliability community as well.
That's awesome. And what a wonderful journey into this field, coming from obviously Wikipedia, which is the world's largest bank of knowledge, in applying, I'm guessing, a lot of what you've learned there into this, again, this wonderful space of maintenance and reliability. I'm really excited to obviously include you into this podcast and also have you be part of our small little community on the Slack group. One thing that we heard from you and from Thomas was that you helped mobilize over 6,000 manufacturers in North America to help speed up PPE distribution and also production. That's incredibly impressive. And I would love to hear a little bit more about that and have you share with our listeners how Thomas was able to help mobilize all of that and hopefully some positive impact that this had.
Absolutely. The long story short, I remember when I took my mom and my sisters to Japan for a little nice Chinese New Year celebration, our phone didn't stop ringing. All relatives in Hong Kong were asking us to buy masks for them. And it is a bit unusual because I come from a culture where PPE is something that you can buy in supermarkets. So to hear that no one could access their PPE is quite a surprise. So, and then, you know what we all do, right? We're Zenio, digital millennial. I grab my phone and look at all the other outlets in America, including Amazon, Walmart, you name it, CVS, everything's gone in January, right? So yeah. A bit like the canary in the landmine, I came back to New York City around February, and I self-quarantined for 2 weeks before it was fashionable in a way. I kind of talked to a lot of colleagues at Thomas. So I was like, guys, I'm not sure if I'm just being overly dramatic, but there could be something going on in the world. We may need to start keeping our eyes peeled on all the data coming through, on thomasnet.com. Now, the interesting aspect of thomasnet.com is on a monthly basis, we have over 1.5 million industrial buyers and suppliers using our platform, looking for products and suppliers, right? So we have real-time data rolling in. And I have to say, I have never seen a spike like that for masks and all the other, second tier supply material for PPE. So My team and everyone at Thomas kind of got together. I remember there was a Saturday right after Tom Hanks was
Oh
diagnosed and
yeah.
NBA stopped. That's when everyone knows this is serious. We couldn't really kind of go through our weekend without getting a bit like, okay, what can we do here? We've been connecting manufacturers for so long. We have the platforms to do it. Let's figure out something together. So our product and tech team immediately put together a special category called a COVID-19 response category. And our marketing team, we kind of rushed together to update all the information about state closure, as well as sending a digital flare out to our 1.3 million registered users and say, okay, guys, there is going to be a supply chain issue. If it's not now, it's going to be soon. And what we need to do is to make sure that we talk to all manufacturers who have the capability and get them to register on Thomas. So we did what we do best, which is systematically kind of organize all the information in a searchable ways with our 130 something certification filters, map everything in one place. So it's amazing. Overnight, we have hundreds of manufacturers pouring in and they're calling us. They're like, hey, we've been trying to buy all the PPE at cost to supply to nonprofits.
Yeah.
No one calls us back. The hospitals are too busy. The moment we are on Thomas COVID-19 response system, our phone doesn't stop ringing. And I have this manufacturer who said that, now he's supplying PPE for the Metropolitan Museum of the Arts. And a couple of months ago, we have a nonprofit emailing us to say thank you because we happen to connect them with PPE donating manufacturers. And all those masks are going to orphanages from around the world. So if anything, it just shows the power of community and everyone stepping up at the right time in the US and Canada.
That's awesome. And obviously, Cathy, thank you so much for all the hard work that went into making that program super successful.
It's teamwork, but thank you. Yes.
One of the things that we hear often in our industry is that manufacturing, our industry, is very slow to move. But it sounds like, through this rapid response framework, you were able to move in a very quick fashion, both ThomasNet and also some of the manufacturers that you worked with. What enabled you guys to be able to move so quickly, so fast? Any learnings along the way, either from ThomasNet as a company or some of the customers that you guys have that moved really, really quickly and that were able to pivot so quickly in what is generally believed to be let's call it more slow moving industry?
That's a great question, Ryan. So believe it or not, rapidly responding to how the world changes is not the first rodeo for Thomas, because our company is actually very adapted to transforming with times. So in the last 2 decades, Thomas went from a print-oriented organization to a data and technology platform. So in a way, it's decades of preparation for a moment like this. The other really big aspect of it is what you do with your community. Having digitally enabled connections like Slack, email, a video call, all those things are really important touch points for us to rapidly design new system. But I'd say the most important things that kind of really connect all of us together is Thomas is a very data savvy and data conscious company. So when we are looking at the crisis, we don't just come from, Cathy thought, that could be a crisis. We together collectively look at our data to see what are the real trends for us to do forecasts. We also use data to measure the progress of this kind of rapid response system, such as the number of suppliers being onboarded, but also there's a production workflow too, where our content analyst team, they have to painstakingly comb through all the suppliers to make sure that none of them are, for example, not who they say they are. And if they are certified with, say, FDA clean room approval, we have to systematically organize those information. I'll say the final point really is having a very close relationship with your use base, and so that they're not afraid of coming to you to give you constructive feedback. So yeah, that's why Thomas is kind of cool. Sorry, am I like being braggy about the company? It is really cool.
No, that definitely seems really awesome that you guys had this framework in place. It sounds like it was all about having a quick and fast feedback cycle that enabled you to, iterate really quickly based off of data and not just gut feeling. That's something that I think all of us could have, especially as we're thinking about working in a manufacturing plant, maintenance reliability. How does that translate into our days and jobs? I think really it's It's all centered around a lot of our jobs, as predictable as we want it to be. Things come up and we have to respond to, fires in the plant, or hopefully not real fires in the plant, but breakdowns within the plant that requires us to pivot and change really quickly. Having a framework that enables us to do that is critically important. Some of the other changes going on right now, I think some of it accelerated by COVID, is this whole trend around digital transformation. Would love to hear your thoughts, Cathy. Like, what are you seeing in the industry with regards to this digital transformation? Have you seen more businesses start adopting more technology, different technologies? What are you most excited by, and what are you seeing right now?
The biggest data point I can give you is the Association of Manufacturing Technology realized that we have in the USA about $500 billion of technology debt. So what it means is that we have been underinvesting our technology stack for manufacturing and supply chain in the USA compared to other countries, right? If we want to really kind of rebalance our trade deficit and actually future-proof our supply chain, we need to reinvest in the capability of our sector. I always think about this. Thomas is actually a digital enabler and almost like a consulting partner with a lot of manufacturers to help them improve on two fronts. One is the operational side of the technology. The other one is informational side of the technology. We take the digital problems away from them with our products and services so they can focus on being the makers and innovators of the world.
So you mentioned this, digital transformation, Industry 4.0, and it sounds like there's been a big push towards more people, more manufacturers thinking about the next generation of manufacturing. Maybe a quick question for you, Cathy. Where do you feel like we are on this journey towards this next transformation, this digital transformation? Do you think we're still early days? Do you think we're in a more mature phase? I'd be curious your thoughts of where we are in this journey and also what you're excited about in the future.
I'll start with what I'm excited about. In terms of our journey, I do think there has been some underinvestment in manufacturing technology, but I'm excited by this because what it means is we're now going through a growth phase where the sector needs close to 400,000 skilled laborers, right? And if you think about the career opportunity of a lot of young people, you either work in service industry or you in STEM, Silicon Valley and finance. There's not a lot of like in between space for the makers and the innovators, right? And I think the next 5 years is going to be very exciting for that cohort of people that I'm sure a lot of MRO community people are like that. You want to tinker things, you want to create things, you can connect a lot of things together and make it into reality through machinery and hands and raw products. This is going to be the time where those people are very much needed. And I'm a big believer that everyone's rallying together to give people that kind of career opportunity to grow. So it's gonna be really exciting.
All right, I'm excited for that future as well, Cathy. Obviously, we're all life learners here on this podcast. All the listeners here on this podcast. I'm guessing you are also a life learner as well. It sounds like working at Wikipedia, coming over to ThomasNet. You're constantly thinking about new ways to educate yourself and learn more. Where do you continue to go to find new ideas for inspiration, educational content?
You know what's interesting? I'm actually part of 8 Slack communities. Believe it or not, so Upkeep, definitely one of them, because there's no easy access to text knowledge, defined by knowledge that are experiential, that you don't always kind of write it in a documentation out there in a searchable article. What is great about Upkeep and other communities I'm part of is that you hear the banter, right? You hear what people are talking about, and you learn so much about what questions and what areas of knowledge you should even be looking into. I was talking to your team. We are obsessed about smart procurement. How do we use data to actually create real-time intelligence about our workflow? And when I talk to another organization that I love, Helpful Engineering, they have 18,000 volunteers from around the world trying to solve the pandemic related problems and social impact problem. So I can hop into a channel and look at how MRO professionals and engineers are getting together to build oxygen concentrators for India. Like, we are actually living in such an amazing world where, yeah, social media is out there, but you can actually be very intimate with a lot of expert communities, and you can just learn by osmosis. So that's one thing I do. The second key entry point for my knowledge is I'm a podcast obsessed person. I think I listen to maybe 3 to 5 episodes every day, like when I'm just like walking around. Sometimes true crime for entertainment, but a lot of times there would be the, invisibilia for economics, like things that really expands your mind. And last but not least, I am still a really big fan of TED Talks. Sometimes if you want the right brain, how do you be a better speaker? How do you be more empathetic and be a better listener? TED Talks are great. I sometimes just kind of do like a show me anything randomly, and you learn something pretty emotionally and spiritually profound sometimes. So those are the 3 big areas.
That's awesome. I feel like for me personally, I need to get back into TED Talks. I loved watching those back in the day. Cathy, can you share with all of our listeners the different ways that they can connect with you and follow you on your journey?
Absolutely. Feel free to connect with me through LinkedIn. So my name is Cathy with a C, Cathy Ma. And you also can email me cma@thomasnet.com. And I always love, hearing from all of you.
Awesome. Thank you again, Cathy, for joining us. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in to today's episode of the Maintenance Community Podcast. My name again is Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of Upkeep. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm super active. You can find both me and Cathy on the Maintenance Community Slack group, and feel free to follow up, ask any questions, or just let us know how today went. You can feel free to sign up at upkeep.org, and I hope to connect with all of you soon. Until next time. Thanks again, Cathy.